Alright, today we're going to do a grass-fed mock tenderloin from Butcher Box. This is the first time I'm doing mock tenderloin. I'm going to treat it kind of like a brisket. From what I understand, there's a lot of connective tissue, so it lends itself to braising, long, slow cooks to really break down the collagen into gelatin. So I'm actually going to sous vide it at 155 degrees for 36 hours. I'm going to chill it, let it cool a little, and then I'm gonna smoke it. I'm gonna hot smoke it for about 3 hours, and we'll see how that turns out. So it's seasoned with kosher salt, fresh ground black pepper, some granulated garlic, and also gonna throw in some dried chopped onions in the sous vide bag. We're getting ready to vacuum seal. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to throw some dried chopped onion in here, which actually provides more onion flavor when using sous vide than onion powder or actual fresh raw onion. So just throwing that in the bag and mix it up in there. Alright, the Anova is just about at temperature. It's a few degrees off, but I'm just going to go ahead and throw it in there and let temperature come up with it in there. So I have my tub just insulated with some old yoga mat, that I just cut up and wrapped around. So with these long cooks, it really helps to insulate your container to maintain the temperature better. It's a lot less stress on the unit. All right, here we are 36 hours later. Let's take a look and see what we've got. Let's take away some of this matting I have on for insulation. Get this weight off of it. Right. Look at that. A lot of water out. You tend to get that with these temperatures and this length of a cook, but we're actually going to use a syringe and inject some of it back before we smoke. So I'm going to let this chill a little bit, let it cool down so when I put it in the smoker, it doesn't make it more well done or dry it out too much. I'm gonna let it chill a little, maybe put it in the fridge for an hour once it's cooled down to room temperature, and then we'll smoke it. We're gonna do snake method in a Weber kettle grill. See you outside. All right, here I'm now at the house where the grill is. So what I'm gonna do is cut this bag open for the broth in here, and we're gonna re-inject some of this juice back into the meat to keep it nice and moist when we put it in the smoker. And this has been resting for about, say, 30 minutes now. It's just about room temperature, maybe still a little warmer. Once I inject it, I'm gonna let it rest for another hour or so in the refrigerator. Gonna chill out so it doesn't get overdone while we're smoking. Oh man, that smells delicious. Whatever juice is left after the injection is definitely going to keep that, and it'll make like a great soup or broth or gravy or whatever. So definitely keep that. Man, it smells good enough to eat right now. Definitely smell that black pepper coming out here. injecting, do always want to go with the grain. All right. Okay. Let's go all the way in, and then as I'm injecting, I'm going to slowly pull it out a little. Get here, straight down the middle. Alright, so it's injected, bag, and I'll pour a little bit of this juice in the bag. So it continues to just sit in its juices while we let it chill a little longer. Alright, and I'll see you in about an hour when I set up the smoker. And we're using a round kettle grill, snake method. I have some mesquite chunks. I'm also going to use one of those pellet tube smokers to a little additional smoke in there. So here we are setting up this kettle grill for the snake method of slow and low cook. So this is so you just make a row of charcoal about a third of the way across. It usually lasts several hours. You make it 2 wide like this, and you could do 2 high. I usually just do 3. That gets a good temperature here. You like this all the way across. You put some live coals right at the top, some wood chunks. It'll slowly, like a fuse, work its way across, and you get a nice slow temp in a kettle grill that usually keeps it right around 225. Right now it's time for the fun part. I'm also putting a couple pieces of mesquite chunks right on the snake here as well. I do like it smoky, so I'm supplementing with this pellet tube style smoker. I like the square ones, the round ones because they roll around. Pellets I'm using is the Louisiana Competition blend, which is 50% maple, 25% hickory, and 25% cherry. So supplemented with the mesquite chunks. I'm gonna get these started. It's a little homemade fire starter. It's just the rolled up used paper towel dipped in some old candle wax. So I'm gonna set up about 5 briquettes right around it to get these guys going. Once these guys get going, I'm gonna pile them at the front of the snake, and that'll slowly burn its way across. And as it gets to these wood chunks here, get that mesquite, and all the while I'll have this going as well. I do like a really heavy smoke flavor. Here. We're just gonna let that burn like a candle for about, 5 to 8 minutes. Once you get some nice embers in there, you can lay it over and it'll produce smoke. If I have it packed all the way, I've gone usually about 5 hours. This should get me well over 3.5, 4 hours. I have these few briquettes going as well. Once these are ready, I'm gonna pile them right at the front of the snake. While this is going, I'm gonna get the meat ready to get on here. See you inside. All right, we're gonna get the mock tenderloin ready for the smoker. So it was sitting in the bag after we injected it, just with a little bit more of the juices. I'm gonna kind of dry a little bit. Doesn't need to be completely dry. Just dry it off a little so it doesn't get too pasty once I put the mustard on. I'm just gonna do another rub, a little bit of mustard, and then after that, just another layer of black pepper and a little salt. And the mustard, again, doesn't really add flavor. It really just helps the seasoning, helps the salt and the black pepper stay on the surface. And the flavor of the mustard really doesn't come through after you smoke. The mustard also helps with fattier cuts. It really helps the flavors of whatever rub you're using bind and penetrate into the fat. So I always do like using, I mean, you can use the rub right on the meat, but I find when smoking, going low and slow, it does help. You get a nice layer of black pepper on there for a nice bark. A little bit of salt, not too much more salt. It's pretty salty as it is. A little salt, a lot of black pepper. Nice bark going on there. And you see it did shrink quite a bit from when we started. It does feel pretty, it's a little jiggly, so I don't think it'll be too dry. Well, we'll see in a few hours. I also did have some chicken brining that I'm gonna throw on the smoker while I have it going. Let's go take a look outside and see if we're ready to start cooking. All right, looks like we are ready to go here. So I'm gonna take these coals that are ready, and I'm gonna put them right at the head of the snake here. See, nice and grate over. Just gonna pile them up right at the front here. Make sure you cover the first few briquettes of the snake, just to make sure that you get a nice ember going all the way across. Look good. Yep, there we go. Good. Smoking away. I'm just going to lay this over. Actually lay it on the snake, that's fine. That won't be any problem. No problems with that. I usually lay it there because I don't want the smoke directly under the meat. It gets a little, you get some off flavors doing that, but this won't affect the burn. It'll shift as it goes. Drip pan filled with some water in here. Keep the environment nice and moist. Throw a couple on. Put my temperature probe right here. Keep an eye on the temperature. I'm going to leave both vents fully open right now so it doesn't smolder. I do want it to get going, but I'll keep an eye on the temperature, and once it hits around 220, I'll put the meat on. All right, the grill is right at 230 actually, so ready to put the meat on. See, there's a good volume of smoke coming off it. The embers are nice and hot. This is my helper for the day, Jaden. Say hi to everyone.
Hi.
All right, so I'm gonna put the beef on first. Put the beef on this side so it's more smoke and less of the heat. Put the chicken on as well. And that's it. Check back in about an hour and a half, see how things are going. All right, here we are an hour and a half into the cook. Let's see what we got. It's held a consistent 113 degrees Celsius. That's about 235 degrees Fahrenheit. So nice and stable. Now let's take a look. All right, certainly plenty smoky. It's looking good. Not too dry. Looks like we got through the first piece of mesquite. The second one's starting to smolder now, and we got plenty of fuel left in the pellets. I'm gonna keep it going for probably another hour and a half. We'll see. All right, here we are, 3 hours in. temperature, pretty much exactly where we want it, 230. Let's see what we got. Looking good. Got a nice big bark on there. Looks like you used just about the perfect amount of charcoal briquettes. Both pieces of mesquite burned through. Let's take a temperature on the chicken. Alright, I probed the chicken. It's 180, so it's done. 165 was the target. It's at 180, so definitely good. Don't really need to test the tenderloin because it was cooked in the sous vide already. Just out of curiosity, I probed it to see where it got to, and it was at 160. So didn't get much higher than the cooking temperature, which is perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these off the grill, bring them inside, and carve them up. Right, here we go. Let's carve it up, see what it looks like inside. Smells delicious. The chicken came out really well too. First time with the mock tenderloin. Let's see. Got a nice thick bark on there. Look at that. Let's see. Oh, it's pretty tender and still quite juicy in there. So let's try it out. A nice smoky tender, really just comes apart. So that honestly better than I expected based on what I was reading about mock tenderloin, but this is delicious. All right, and let's see what the judge thinks. Go for it. What do you think?
Yummy.
All right. And there you have it. Sous vide and then smoked grass-fed mock tenderloin.